Trump begins petroleum politics with Pakistan. But what is the untapped truth of Pakistan's oil? Cloudy reality behind crude claims. A closer look into Pakistan's massive reserves. US-Pakistan deal and the oil factor. Top focus on NewsTrack.
Hello and welcome. Good evening. You're watching NewsTrack. I'm Akshita, Nandagopal, and yes, our top focus is on Trump's love for Pakistan. On one hand, with India, you've been seeing what's playing out, of course, with Trump slapping the 25% plus penalty tariff on India and then going ahead and signing an oil deal with Pakistan. What really explains this sudden bonhomie friendship and this love that Trump has for Pakistan? And what's this oil deal all about? We're going to break it down for you. I'm Akshita Nandagopal. Here are the headlines first. Day after threatening to slap 25% tariff on India, Trump goes on a tirade, says India and Russia can take down their dead economies for all he cares. Government sources say not too worried on US tariffs. India is a self-sufficient economy. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal adds India's priority is welfare of farmers, MSMEs and exporters. All Malegaon blast accused, including Pragya Thakur and Lieutenant Colonel Prasad Purohit, acquitted. Maharashtra court slams prosecution, says mere suspicion not enough. Big breakthrough in Dharmasthala mass burials probe. SIT exhumes skeletal remains from 6th identified spot by whistleblower. Forensics to examine remains. After Prime Minister denies meet request, OPS exits NDA ahead of polls. Move comes hours after meeting during a morning walk with Stalin. US President Donald Trump had a busy day at the White House yesterday as he made a series of announcements, which included, of course, a 25% tariff on India plus a penalty. Why? Because Trump has questioned India's trade with Russia. Trump didn't stop there. He went ahead and struck a deal with Pakistan to develop what he called its massive oil reserves. The joke, honestly, is on Trump for referring to it as a massive oil reserve. I will tell you why in just a bit. But first, take a look at this detailed report on exactly what Trump has been up to in the last 24 hours, signing trade deals with several countries, going ahead and slapping tariffs on others.
India is one of the highest tariff nations in the world.
They sell a lot to us, but we don't buy from them. You know why? Because the tariff is so high. If they call up and they say, would like to do something a different way, we're going to be open to that.
They do it to us and we do it to them.
US President Donald Trump is upset. Very, very upset. Much isn't going his way. At home, even his own central bank is ignoring his pleas and threats to slash interest rates.
We should be the lowest interest rate, and we're not. We're 38, number 38, because of the Fed. It's all because of the Fed. He's done a bad job. Now, he's got a meeting today, but I call him too late.
Today, the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. We believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
The latest GDP figures show the US economy grew 3% between April and June, a fact Trump is celebrating, but a closer look paints a more nuanced picture. Private sector investment growth and consumer spending have slowed sharply. Inflation rose for the second straight month in June to 2.7%. And though unemployment remains near historic lows, job creation is clearly losing momentum. On the global economic stage, it's been 6 months and yet the US has failed to finalize trade deals with three biggest partners, Mexico, Canada, and China. Trump's frustration surfaced online Thursday morning when he linked stalled talks to Canada's support for the Palestinian statehood, an unusually sharp diplomatic linkage. Even his mega trade announcement with the European Union is clouded with uncertainty.
I think it's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games.
France called the agreement a dark day for Europe, accusing the European Union of caving in to Trump with a lopsided deal. The pact reportedly slaps a 15% US tariff on EU goods while sparing most US exports from immediate retaliation. Germany's chancellor warned the agreement could inflict serious damage on Europe's largest economy, with manufacturers bracing for the impact of new tariffs. But it's India that may mark Trump's biggest foreign policy failure so far.
President Trump is frustrated with the progress we've made with India, but feels that a 25% tariff will address and remedy the situation in a way that's good for the American people.
For months, Trump has teased a big trade deal with India. He has repeatedly claimed credit for brokering an India-Pakistan ceasefire, something vehemently denied by India, framing it as leverage for a trade pact. That claim now rings hollow. Trump has instead slapped a 25% tariff plus a Russia penalty on Indian goods.
They have one of the highest tariffs in the world. Now they're willing to cut it very substantially, but we'll see what happens. We're talking to India now, we'll see what happens. It doesn't matter too much whether we have a deal or whether we charge them a certain tariff, but you'll know at the end of this week.
Trump's frustration has spilled into pointed jibes at India. In announcing a trade deal with Pakistan, Trump even claimed the two nations could jointly develop Pakistan's oil reserves, adding with a jibe that Pakistan may be selling oil to India one day. Trump's anger is also stoked by his faltering bid to play peacemaker in Ukraine. Russia has answered his repeated ceasefire statements with more strikes, and Trump's pledge to advance his peace deadline from 50 days to just 10 drew a mocking post from Dmitry Medvedev. The former Russian president used Trump's own sleeping Joe insult, taunting him and warning his ultimatum could push the US closer to war with Russia. That post enraged Trump, and he's now targeting nations tied to Moscow, including BRICS members and those still buying Russian crude. India was once again in the crosshairs Thursday morning. Trump called it a dead economy. This despite India accounting for 17% of global growth in 2024 and being forecast to grow at double the global rate in 2025. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Okay, so many questions that really come up with the decisions that Trump has taken, particularly of going ahead and signing this oil deal with Pakistan. We don't know the terms and conditions just yet, just that an announcement has been made and a trade deal with Pakistan has also been signed. Gaurav Samant is joining us live from the newsroom with more on this. Gaurav, first of all, what really explains the manner in which Trump has become so pally with Pakistan in the last few months?
There are several ways to look at this. One, is Trump playing a much bigger game? Pakistan is very, very close to China. And is Trump attempting to wean Pakistan away from China? And in case Donald Trump were to play a bigger role or Pakistan inside Pakistan, it would be a setback to China's investments in Pakistan. They've sunk more than $30 billion of $60 billion in the China-Pakistan economic corridor, and there have been absolutely no results. And if the United States were to get in, it would be a setback for China. But that may be one part of the story. The other part, as many see this, Trump may be behaving like a jilted lover. He expected a trade deal from India. He's clearly not getting that trade deal on his terms. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi appears to have dug in his heels on various aspects. And that is why, is it to spite India that he's cozying up to Pakistan? Of course, he had been cozying up to Pakistan even earlier. This is a Trump who's very, very different from the Trump in his first tenure, who'd accused Pakistan of stealing $33 billion and being involved in the killing of US soldiers in Afghanistan. So it's a very different Trump. He's also got a cryptocurrency deal for his family, according to reports from Pakistan. Yeah. He's expecting to perhaps get some oil in oil deals in Pakistan, expecting to get some minerals from Pakistan. So a lot of promises have been made to him. Will they be fulfilled remains to be seen.
But also, Gaurav, you know, on the aspect of this oil deal with Pakistan, it's rather confusing that Trump has agreed to any sort of oil deal. Again, let me reiterate that we don't know exactly what kind of a deal this is. But for Pakistan itself, you know, the fact that they talk of massive oil reserves, is that really the case? Do they have those kind of resources?
You know, Pakistan is, if I may, like Miss Havisham of Charles Dickens' Great Expectations. So there are great expectations that there will be oil, but then those expectations have been dashed so far. You know, like Miss Havisham kept waiting to be that bride. Pakistan is still waiting for that oil. And remember, it was in 2019 when Imran Khan was the then Prime Minister of Pakistan. There were these big claims of oil exploration and oil find in the Indus Basin, and it was claimed that these are the biggest reserves of oil in Asia. This was 2019. Indus G basin, Imran Khan had claimed there was offshore drilling off the coast of Karachi. Nothing emerged, but that's one part of the story. 17 attempts have been made, 17 major attempts between 1960 and 2018 by Sun Oil of the United States, Wintershell Germany, Husky Canada, Petro Canada, Total France, Shell Netherlands. But there are all but dry holes and non-commercial finds. So great expectations dashed. Miss Havisham still waiting for oil.
Well, you have an interesting comparison there, Gaurav, but thank you very much for joining us. So as Gaurav told you there, for Pakistan, you know, they've constantly said we have oil, but the reality is that Pakistan themselves import oil in. So what exactly is the reality here? A lot of claims, and we've referred to it as crude claims versus reality. Here's what we know really about Pakistan's oil resources and these massive reserves that they're talking about. Well, as far as proven oil reserves are concerned, that's at about 353.5 million barrels. So overall, if you look at it globally, you look at the ranking, Pakistan is at about 52nd place globally. So at numbers of global reserves, again, if we were to go ahead and do that comparison, this is, by the way, of the proven oil reserves, it's about 0.02% of the global reserves. Obviously, it's not some massive big oil market for the world to tap into looking at these particular numbers. But beyond that, let's also talk about production versus demand. We've taken a look at really the proven oil reserves. As far as production versus demand goes, the daily oil production is at 88,000 barrels a day. Consumption is 550,000 plus barrels a day. So look at the numbers there and the stark difference. 88,000 barrels per day is what's produced versus consumption at 550,000 plus barrels per day. So 84% of the demand for Pakistan is actually met through imports. So can they actually be talking about a deal with another country? As far as the offshore potential goes, there have in fact been seismic surveys in the offshore Indus Basin. There are indications there that yes, maybe there are potential reserves, but There has so far been no confirmation whatsoever. So it's a gamble largely at this point. There has been hints, yes, but no confirmed large discoveries to date, which is why all that's happening right now is extremely confusing about why really this kind of an oil deal is being struck. Let's explain that to our viewers right now with our panelists joining us on this broadcast. We've got Mr. Sanjeev S. Ahluwalia, Distinguished Fellow at the Chintan Research Foundation and an expert in economic governance and energy regulations. We also have former diplomat, Mr. Prabhu Dayal, with us. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. And I'd like to begin first with Mr. Ahluwalia on the data, the numbers that we've put out. It's kind of a mystery right now, Mr. Ahluwalia, on why we're seeing this kind of a deal between America and Pakistan. Now we know, of course, why there's a friendship taking place. But an oil deal, perhaps something nobody saw coming. What do you think?
Well, friendships between countries has always been a mystery to me because usually they're made and unmade on the basis of national interest. So I would say that to answer your first question, whether Pakistan is a worthy counterpart for a oil exploration or even a gas exploration investment. I think that if the viability was there, the American companies would already be there prospecting and producing gas or oil. Do remember that unlike China and unlike Russia, America works primarily through private companies. It's a very privatized economy. So the president actually has no means at his disposal.
Okay, Mr. Ahluwalia, we've lost your connection there briefly. My apologies. So we're going to get back to Mr. Ahluwalia once we connect with him again. Mr. Prabhu Dayal, what do you make of these developments? A lot of talk is over the fact that Trump, while talking about helping developing Pakistan's oil reserves, says, we might as well sell it to India as well. And so there's a lot of talk about what the impact on India will be, this Pakistan-US friendship or tango as they're referring to it. What do you think, sir?
Well, you asked a very pertinent question. What does this US-Pakistan trade deal mean for India? What does it really amount to in terms of oil exports? As was rightly pointed out by Gaurav and by you, there is a geopolitical dimension to it. The US-Pakistan trade deal and Trump's statements in this regard must be seen against the background of geopolitics and the growing proximity between these two countries. Now, I would like to recall that in his first term, Trump's first tweet on New Year's Day in 2018 was that the US had given Pakistan $33 billion in aid, and in exchange, Pakistan had given back only lies and deceit. Now, in his second term, Trump seems to be taking a completely different view of Pakistan. Recent developments suggest a warming of relations between the US and Pakistan. Let me recall that on the 19th of June this year, Trump hosted Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir for lunch at an unprecedented White House meeting. And in fact, this was the first time in many years that a Pakistani Army Chief was hosted by a sitting US president in the White House. And this highlighted Washington's renewed interest in maintaining influence in South Asia as regional tensions were flaring up. And of course, he claimed to have mediated in the conflict between India and Pakistan. Now, Pakistan has also taken all possible steps to win over US support. There are talks which are taking place regarding bitcoins and cryptocurrency between a firm owned by the Trump family and the Pakistani establishment. In addition, let me mention that earlier this week, Pakistan conferred its biggest military honor, which is called the Nishan-e-Imtiaz, upon the US Central Command Chief General Michael Kurilla. Against this background of the evolving geopolitical situation, now Trump has announced a trade deal with Pakistan to develop what he calls its massive oil resources, which are very questionable, frankly. These resources are just not massive. They are a small percentage of what the global reserves are. But nonetheless, he has said that he is having this deal with Pakistan while also imposing 25% tariffs on Indian goods. So the trade agreement, which may appear to be aimed at boosting bilateral trade, is perhaps, in all likelihood, a pressure tactic of Donald Trump to get New Delhi to agree to demands made by the United States, which in recent days has got favorable trade deals with major partners like Japan, UK, and the European Union. So, significantly, this announcement of this trade deal with Pakistan came within hours of his announcement of the 25% tariffs on India, plus an additional unspecified penalty on purchases of Russian military equipment. So I repeat what I said. This announcement regarding the trade deal with Pakistan and all this about the massive oil reserve is to be seen in the context of the evolving geopolitical situation and US policies in this regard.
Okay, Mr. Dayal, just stay with me. Let me try to also reconnect with Mr. Ahluwalia. We lost you briefly there, Mr. Ahluwalia. My apologies. But my essential takeaway was that you were suggesting that, look, this deal is a result of the growing friendship between America and Pakistan. Am I right in saying that? Because right now it's clear that Pakistan doesn't have any of these massive oil reserves that Trump is talking about.
I don't think that's a good reading of the situation. I personally think that the relationship between the United States and India is more rock solid today than it has ever been before. And it is growing. And there is sense to it. Please remember what India is. We are the fastest growing economy in the country.
But he calls us a dead economy, sir.
Maybe the third or the fourth. I would not like to say whether it's dead or not dead. I wonder why we are focusing on Pakistan, because compared to India, it really does not matter. I would welcome if Mr. Trump was to put his personal money and the money of American investors into Pakistan, because we'd be happy to buy oil from them. In fact, we'd be happy to buy gas from them, produce electricity, and sell it back to them because they're next door to us. I don't think we need to be antagonistic with Pakistan. They're part of the region where India is the biggest player. And if things improve, there is everything we should do to get along happily with them, along with Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. So on energy, let's be clear, it's not just Pakistan. Even we are short on energy resources. We are trying to improve what we have. We're trying to exploit our reserves, especially our gas reserves, for which some special dispensations are now being thought of by the government to open up previously restricted areas. And American and other investments are welcome to come, exploit the gas, along with Indian companies. We're big Indian companies now, who are doing this across the globe. So I don't think Pakistan is any kind of a threat to us economically or militarily or in any other way. Just looking at the size of the two companies,
But just talking about the messaging, Mr. Ahluwalia, I agree with you that, in any way, Pakistan's gain is not India's loss. We can't equate the two. There's no question of doing that also. But what do you think of the messaging, Mr. Ahluwalia, the timing of it, the fact that Trump announced it hours after slapping these tariffs on India?
See, these tariffs are not finalized. They're interim. Discussions are going on. And this is the style in which President Trump negotiates. That's his style. America, by definition, is a country which is, run very closely by the presidents over there. India is different. We have a parliament. We have a British kind of a system. So we work differently. But, Americans can sway America this way or that way. Much more easily. So this is his style. It's a threatening, bullying style. And we have been very mature, I think. Our external affairs minister especially and of course our Prime Minister, they've been extremely mature in hearing what President Trump is saying, absorbing it, and then reserving judgment on it. Because both countries know, both administrations know, that there can be nothing better than a closer compact between the US and India, and that is the way President Trump will eventually go. This is our view on it.
Okay, Mr. Dayal, final comments from you, sir, on what Mr. Ahluwalia has said, and also just to add also one question to that is, how do you think India has to now deal with someone like Trump, as unpredictable as they come, but at the same time also the fact that, he's getting close to Pakistan, he's signing all of these deals with Pakistan, and on us, he's slapping tariffs, referring to us as a dead economy and questioning our ties with Russia?
Well, I agree with Mr. Ahluwalia. This is part of Trump's style. And I said in my opening remarks that Trump's announcement regarding this trade deal with Pakistan could be a pressure tactic to get New Delhi to agree to his demands. He is absolutely right, Mr. Ahluwalia, when he said that the tariffs are not final, the deal is still under negotiation. But the United States president is exerting the maximum pressure possible on India to agree to his terms, which of course include opening up the agriculture and dairy sectors, which we are resisting for our own reasons, which are very, very valid. Now, I disagree with Mr. Ahluwalia when he says that we could have Indian companies exploring gas in Pakistan, and that, of course, Pakistan doesn't pose any military threat to us or any economic threat, but it poses a very important threat, and that is the threat of terrorism. And it still carries out this threat in a variety of ways. And India has made it very clear that unless Pakistan gives up its policy of sponsoring terrorism against India, we are not going to have any sort of bilateral interaction. We have downscaled the embassy. We have cut off all relations. So the question of India moving towards an economic relationship to the extent of exploring oil in Pakistan or buying gas from Pakistan at the moment doesn't arise. We have to
That's
first
ruled
settle
out. You're right.
matters
Also, the
related
question
to
that comes up also
That
with
is
this
the
deal
perspective
is about
in which
whether really global isolation of Pakistan is happening, since Pakistan and US now are having these healthy ties, this kind of a relationship. But Mr. Ahluwalia, Mr. Dayal, thank you very much for your time and for joining us here on NewsTrack on India Today. That's all we have time for on this broadcast. Thanks very much for tuning in.